I think the biggest thing in case acceptance is trust. And you earn trust with people by being honest and upfront with people, by letting them know exactly what's going on. We've been misled to believe that dentistry, more specifically the dental business, has to be complicated. Dentistry can be simple, and dentistry should be simple.
I'm your host, Dr. Mustafa Shakan, along with my co-host, Dr. Richard Offit and Dr. Mortaza Shakan. We want to welcome today's guest, Dr. Tarun Agarwal. T-Bone, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to talking.
Well, I can't wait to talk. And, I don't know how they let the white guy on the program.
I'm over on one side of the room. We thought we had to bring him in. It was going to be three Indians talking, but then we'd figure we'd all just end up in Guantanamo, so it would be a bad deal.
They already sent us to Guantanamo.
I'm the bag man.
We can't talk about Guantanamo. You may end up getting a drone strike for Rex collateral damage. We're going to offend somebody already.
Listen, if I'm not involved in something that offends people, I'm not doing my job.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you again for being with us. Obviously this is the Simplify Dentistry podcast. Your Dentistry Made Simple, the 3D dentist. Our whole thing is, what can we do to help simplify dentistry? What are you seeing? What are you doing? What are you talking to docs about making dentistry simple?
Yeah, I think I wanted to probably talk out of both sides of my mouth on this one, in that dentistry doesn't have to be very complicated. Business doesn't have to be complicated. We're so lucky that we're in a profession where it's like a faucet. You can turn it on and off as much as you want. You can be as involved or as uninvolved as you want. But, all of us in this room right now have certainly been around long enough to really understand that traditionally dentistry has been a mom and pop business. A guy or gal opens up a shop. They want to make a practice for themselves. It's a lifestyle business. They work 4 days, maybe 3.5 days some weeks. They take plenty of time off, or they should be taking plenty of time off. They call the shots. And it's been a mom and pop practice, basically. But, probably in the mid-2000s, we started undergoing a digital technology change that has really changed the way we deliver clinical care. But now you combine that with private equity, you combine that with inflation, you combine that with insurance challenges, and suddenly it's not easy being a mom and pop practice anymore. We have to really start. I think we've entered the era of dentistry being a true small to medium sized business in this country, and we have to treat we can't call it a dental practice anymore. We really have to run dental businesses, and that scares people, but it doesn't have to be all that scary. But we've entered that era where the mom and pop shop is essentially dead. I mean, there'll always be room for that, but essentially moving forward, we have to act like larger organizations, but many of us want to continue to be, 1 or 2 location offices.
So when you say the mom and pop shop is essentially dead, so we had a gentleman on who does a lot of practice transitions and brokers, with Tusk. And one thing he said is if you brought him a practice with $1 million in EBITDA, he can sell that thing at 7 times every day of the week. You bring him a practice with $1 million in revenue, he can't sell it ever. Is that kind of what you're talking about here?
In a sense, okay. But basically, yes. Like, here's the reality. Number one, I'd love to buy a practice doing $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 in revenue. But what I can tell you I would do is I would turn it into a business versus keeping it at a mom and pop, 600, 700, 800, even $1 million practice. We all have to get over the fact that at some point in time, we're going to need to exit our dental business. Okay. And so as much as it's hard to say, let's look out 20 years, you have to look out 20 years, 10 years, wherever you're at in your stage of career, and say, what do I have to change now to prepare for the exit? And here's what the trends are showing. If you're less than 6, 7 operatories, you have a lower value. If you're a solo doc, you have a lower value because you're the key man or key gal in the operation. So Yeah, to a certain degree, yes. They are still buyers, but they're one-on-one transactions. They're a individual dentist buying your individual dental goodwill practice. Whereas once you move to the $1.5+ million ballpark, 6, 7, 8 operatories or more, you really move into an EBITDA valuation versus a percentage of revenue valuation in your practice. And the difference can be significant depending on your size and scope of your practice.
So when you're looking at these smaller practices, less than $1 million of total revenue, those could be the hidden value.
Those are the hidden value.
Yeah. In terms of being able to take it, put in best practices, as you said, convert it to a business, and computerize all your records, digitalize everything, get your workflow going. You could easily take a $700,000 practice to $1.5 million pretty quickly.
Yep.
The trick is when somebody pays 7 times for something, how do they get a doubleton on that return, right?
Well, I mean, in today's world, they just aggregate things together and magically it's worth more, so there's that aspect of it. But I think that part is also starting to show the hidden evils behind some of that. People have tried to aggregate things and they're not worth what they say they're worth. But I think also the difference is when an individual dentist buys a practice, they're not looking at it as a 3 to 5 year investment. They're looking at it as a 10, 20, 25 year lifestyle. And so they're looking at something totally different. Whereas a business, like if I buy a stock, I'm not thinking of buying a stock for 20 years. I'm thinking of how can I buy this stock and exit it in 1 year, 1 day, so I can make, long-term capital gains. And so my perspective on that is going to be different. And so when private equity or small groups buy a practice, they have a 3 to 5 year window sight, sometimes shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. But here's the reality of this, at least what we're seeing and what I've experienced is we can argue all day long about whether this is good for dentistry, not good for dentistry. The future will tell us. Eventually the winner will show up on this. But what we can't argue about is that some of these organizations are doing something right from a pure business perspective. Now, we can totally disagree ethically or blah, 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 but we cannot disagree that they are doing something right from a pure business perspective. And I'm going to come out with a new series on my podcast called What Can We Learn from DSOs? What should we learn from DSOs? Because there's a lot that we should be learning from them and mimicking. And there's lots of things that we shouldn't be mimicking either because it's not appropriate for us in our individual practices. But there's a lot that we should be mimicking. Things like, things that are important to me is how do we bring patients in? How do we get patients? How do we bring them in? What's the patient buying process like? What's that journey look like? How are we doing operational efficiencies? In other words, our day-to-day business practices, and then our clinical efficiencies. How are we maximizing time and not wasting time? And then our clinical scope of care. There's kind of like 5 areas that you can look at and learn from DSOs. And when we say DSOs, I will say I'm a DSO customer. And what I mean by that is I buy my coffee at Starbucks. Starbucks is a DSO. It's a coffee shop DSO. Sure. I buy most of my products on Amazon. Amazon is the ultimate DSO, for commodity items. So as much as dentists or dentistry bitches and moans about, excuse my language, complains about DSOs, we all at the end of the day are in a way, we're kind of hypocrites because we're living a life of DSOs everywhere else in our life, and we appreciate those conveniences that they afford.
So it's acquiring those best practices. That's going to be a great series.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
I mean, because anytime you can harvest best practices from somebody else, that's a real coup.
So yeah, so like for example, I'll give you an example. One of the DSOs I worked with in the mid 2010s, okay, probably 2014, 2015, in my time with digital dentistry, one of the things I picked up hanging out with the owner of that DSO was was that one of the things they track on each of their dentists, and they're an organization of at that time 1,000 dentists. Okay, they tracked not just how much revenue they did, but how much they referred out, and how much they referred out to group practices. In other words, within their house, but also how much they referred out in-house to their in-house specialists. And it made me realize that's an area that I was never tracking in my practice. How many patients am I sending away? How many patients are my associates sending away? How much are they referring to me? Like, hey, I may produce only $2,500 a day, but I diagnose like a beast. I just can't do any of the dentistry. And if I can send it to my in-house specialist, then I have value. So it's little things like that I picked up along the way that I think that we should learn from DSOs.
Well, it's like you spoke at a meeting we had a while back. And I think one of the interesting things is you talked about clear aligners and Invisalign, and you kind of laid it out there. We'll probably make every orthodontist friend of ours mad, but clear aligners are something that should be in your practice. Is that kind of one of those things that you're continuing to preach? Hey, capture the clear aligner business. Don't send it out the door.
Yeah. So again, everything's always clinically ethical. You got to do what's comfortable and always what's in the best interest of the patient. My belief is I want to treat every patient that walks in the door, almost every patient that walks in the door, like what would I do if that were my mouth or my mom's mouth or my dad's mouth? That's really the tact I take in talking about this. But it's interesting you brought this up, and I'm going to do a bob and weave and get to the point here in a second, okay? But one of the things I'm tracking in our practices, and this is another thing I picked up from working with DSOs, is there's 3 types of production in a dental practice, what I call time-intensive production. That's your DFB, drill, fill, bill dentistry. Basically what we learned in dental school. That stuff will make you a good life. It will not make you rich, and it will not make you wealthy. Okay, it will make you a very good living. A DFB, drill, fill, bill. That is dentistry like fillings, crowns, things like that. Very time intensive, very dependent on the dentist. Then we have high revenue, low time procedures. And that would be things like implant dentistry, cosmetic dentistry. If I do sedation dentistry and I get to do all of your dentistry in one sitting, those kind of things really will help build richness in your economic life and richness and some fulfillment. And so I try to track the difference in those two. And the other area that I'm tracking, and this kind of fits into your clear aligner therapy, is what I call supervised production. In other words, things that I can outsource to my dental assistant under my supervision that they can do. Now we're really winning. Now I can have somebody like I have a team member and a dental assistant who runs my sleep apnea practice within my practice. I supervise, I see the patients maybe once, and then basically from there, she takes care of them. And that's supervised production that I can outsource to a team member. Clear aligner therapy, sleep apnea, night guards, whitening, all those things. So I'm kind of categorizing our production is how much time-intensive production, because my ceiling is only so high, how much high revenue, low time procedures am I doing? And then how much supervised revenue are we doing in our practice?
That's awesome.
That's a great breakdown. I mean, because you only have X amount of time.
Yeah.
Right.
And that man just took notes on all of that.
And so we got to think about it. For me, it all stems from a concept called the value of an operatory. And I love hygienists, but they're going to extinct themselves in the current form because I have to give up my 10 by 10 little room, 10 by 12 room, whatever size you have in your room. And that same real estate produces me $15,000 to $20,000 a month. Or I could put a dentist in an operatory of the same size that can produce me $40,000 to $60,000 a month or more, $70,000, $80,000 a month. Or in my case, I can put a dental assistant in that operatory and she can produce $30,000 to $40,000 a month and have way lower cost to me to do it. At the end of the day, we have a limited amount of real estate. So for me, I want to look at how do I maximize what is the best use of that real estate? Because I don't want to build another facility. I don't want to take on more debt and go through all of that. And a lot of our listeners are in that position. I'm just busy. I've got 5 or 6 operatories. I need to build a big facility or a bigger facility to taste success. And the truth is you don't. You just have to remix your practice. And then the example I use is Starbucks. Starbucks started off as a coffee company, and I'm not even sure it's a coffee company anymore. If you look at their revenue, my guess is that I call them sugar bucks because they sell sugar. They sell sugar drinks. That's where they make most of their profits from. Coffee is a byproduct of what they sell.
No, like, I mean, what you're saying, I mean, today for me, I had 2 Invisalign patients that I worked on, or my assistant handled for me for the bulk of it this morning. And I looked at the end of the day and I did a crown later on and had some other stuff. But I was like, oh, that was a hell of a day. And I wasn't as beat up. My assistant did the lion's share of the stuff with the Invisalign patient. And
Well,
it was a good day.
think about if you, like you said, you're maximizing the operatory. If you did, somebody else did the 2 Invisaligns.
Yeah.
You had another assistant and you did 2 crowns.
Yeah.
So then you're doing so many different things, but you're kind of utilizing your facility. You're utilizing your people. They're practicing at what we were talking about yesterday, practicing at the top of your license.
Yeah.
You know, the assistant's practicing at the top of the license. The hygienist practicing at the top of the license. Then all of a sudden the practice makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I would even say that slightly different. I would say that I'm practicing what my license absolutely requires me to do and nothing more. That's my goal. My license requires me to place the implant, and in North Carolina, it requires me to finalize the torque, but technically it doesn't require me to do anything else.
Yeah, that's true. That's I mean, and that makes a lot of sense.
I was listening to one of your podcasts the other day, and you mentioned how your aligner story kind of, and how you've dabbled with different ones throughout the years, and you're kind of, I'll use my words, your love-hate relationship with a certain aligner company, and how you've switched to a newer one. And I was, you wouldn't look this way, but I was on the treadmill when I was listening to your thing. And if you wouldn't mind talking about that a little bit more with the new aligner program that you're a part of.
Well, let's call it all out. I mean, we want to educate people. Who are you using?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie about any of that stuff or hide, So look, Invisalign's the gorilla in the room. Okay. They at the end of the day, look, Invisalign created this market. They are Kleenex. Okay. They are whiteout. They are Post-it notes. XYZ. There will always be the lion's share of the market. The challenge I see for general dentists is at some point, we are going to have to band together and stop getting screwed in this deal. Okay. And constantly I can't compete with orthodontists with Invisalign, or unless I'm doing hundreds of cases a year, I just can't compete. They're buying it for 50% less or less than I am, and I can't compete.
Sure.
And again, I'm not trying to badmouth what is an amazing company. It's like I got, again, it's a hot button for me. Okay, I own two iTeros, but I can't sell them. And the day I stop paying the monthly fee, I can't get my data. Okay, I think that's bordering on, in my opinion, extortionary. Okay, and so, but either way, the good news is we have alternatives in the marketplace. And so we recently switched to Candid Pro, and I'll be honest, I did it because of a relationship. That one of their people, Candid Pro. And so one of my friends that I know here well is their marketing director, and she came to me and said, "Hey, have you considered us?" I don't know anything about you guys, so tell me more. And so basically, they're a slightly lower cost option. Okay, so they're definitely, but look, money shouldn't be the number one reason to move to anything. Okay, what I found is I work directly with an orthodontist to help set up my cases. I schedule it all online. There are U.S. Licensed orthodontists that I work with, and that's who I talk to directly. That's important to me. But what I've liked the most so far is they send home this little gadget that like, you guys remember the thing where they had the little mouth props that customers would wear, and they would make funny videos. Yeah. But this thing attaches to your phone. And then what happens is your patient scans their teeth with the trays in the mouth, and then it tells you how well the trays are fitting to the teeth. And then I get every week a report from my little app that says, "Hey, patient one, they're in their tray. This is what it is. Everything's looking good. We told them to move on. Hey, this patient tray is not fitting well. We suggested they wear them another week, and then we'll take another evaluation." And then, oh, hey, it's not going well. Now we need to bring this patient back in. And so what's happened essentially, I'm not saying every case works out this way, but conceptually what happens is my patient comes in, I deliver their aligners, I give them all their aligners. And in theory, I won't see them until they're done, physically in the office.
That is maxing out that supervision.
Oh, absolutely. Now I've gone to patient supervision dentistry, right?
Yeah, that's better than a dental assistant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you don't have to pay.
So my question, and this is a little unrelated, but in different things we've done in the past, we've seen groups come in like that are private equity based, and the people that are running it are private equity owners of the aligner company.
Yep. And
you can tell by listening to them that they're in this game. They're going to do it for 3 to 5
years. Yeah.
They're getting the hell out of this thing.
Yeah.
Do you think this aligner company is like this, or is somebody really getting to maximize and get out?
I can't speak to that because I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. I really don't care. There will be another one 3 to 5 years from now if that happens to them. And so, I won't wait for my success, or I won't let pride get in the way of tasting success, especially at this point in my life. Okay. And so it's okay. Everybody's out to make money. That's totally their business. As long as you can ethically do it for me now, and as long as I can service my customers, and as long as I'm not held hostage, I'm okay.
It makes a lot of sense. But do you feel like, for me, I felt like when I was doing ClearCorrect, I was having to convince people about ClearCorrect. I didn't like software. I didn't like certain aspects about it. But when I really embraced Invisalign, people all of a sudden were like, hey, man, I'll do the Invisalign. I've heard that. I know that. Like you said, it's Kleenex.
Yeah.
The brand sold itself. So, that's where I always wonder, if you get a Sure Smile or you go to something like that, are you missing the brand?
Absolutely. The answer is probably. Okay. And that's okay. Look, my goal is to do 5 cases a month.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if I can do 5 cases a month and I miss out on a few cases, so be it. Okay.
Sure.
It's okay. My dad said something to me a long time ago, and I didn't understand it at the time when I was a teenager. He says, when you're doing a deal, we're in the motel business, so shock. But
really, is your last name Patel as well?
No, we're still Agarwal, but yeah, we're in a small motel. Patel's in the much bigger motel business, right? He said to me, when you're doing a deal, don't worry about what the other side gets. Focus on what you're getting. And so that's how I look at my relationship with every company. Look, you make money, I get it. You lose money, that's your problem. You make money, good for you. As long as I feel like I'm being treated fairly, I'm delivering good things for my patients, you're helping me get to the next step, I'm okay. And all relationships are subject to change, and so a company may change, it's a fact.
Yeah. Go find the next one.
Yeah. I mean, I know that may be a horrible way to look at it in the long run, but unfortunately, it's the reality.
Yeah. I think you're dealing with the facts that you're facing, right?
Yeah.
As they occur.
Yeah,
So with Candid Pro, how long have you been using them, and how have the results been so far?
Yeah, so we're about, I want to say, almost a year in, and so far the results have been very good. Now, part of this is look, I'm super conservative in the cases we take on. Right now, I do adolescent relapse orthodontics, basically. I do, premolar forward orthodontics. I'm not focused on bite changes. The only bite change I do is if it's a deep bite, we'll try to correct that anteriorly, not posteriorly. So I was selective even when I was with Align on those things. So that's kind of where we're at. And so far, so good. Do we have refinements? The answer is yes. Okay. Are they covered? The answer is yes. All those things. You can't be competitive if you have a product that's not somewhat pretty good. Okay. Then they're not Align. Their treatment plan is not as fancy as Align. They need some time to mature some parts of their product, but their aligners themselves, the treatment plan itself, the outcomes itself, the technology itself has been good to this time. We are very pleased with it. In fact, we're going to get ready to launch a study club with them starting in January a virtual sculpted club where we're going to focus on the business, marketing, and the clinical aspect of clear aligner dentistry, clear aligner orthodontics. So we're seeing good results. Our people in our business coaching program are seeing good results, and we're seeing good customer service and relationships there, which matter as well.
You know, listening to you takes me back to a conversation I was having with my wife. My wife was like, why can't Indians have one job? Why do y'all have to have 8 jobs? This is where, when I kind of transitioned out of another side thing I was doing and wasn't doing anything but dentistry, I swear I was unhappy. And and then I started doing this with these guys, and it brought passion again to what I do. And I think it's very admirable, kind of all the things that you're doing and things like that. And not to give you too much shit for being an Indian guy, I'm an Indian guy, so. Yeah, I can do that. I think a lot of people are unaware of your journey. I've known you for a long time, and we've kind of seen your journey. Maybe give us a quick synopsis on where T-Bone came from, what he did, and what he's doing now. Yeah.
Well, I came from my mom and dad, so
I like to start.
yeah. I was born in India. My parents moved here when I was 2 years old. I called Child Protective Services, but they weren't willing to keep me in India. I had to come here. And so my dad was a practicing dentist in India. We moved here for a better life. Like the traditional immigrant story, being a dentist wasn't in the cards for him. We bought a motel. I'm grateful to the United States of America. We're able to buy it through familial help and the Small Business Loan Administration process, or whatever it was at the time. That allowed us to get started, and America has been amazing to us. North Carolina has been amazing to our family. Like most immigrants and Asians will understand this. We lived in a motel. I lived and breathed guerrilla motel business, basically. Like we were the laundry people, we were the cleaners, we were the night clerk. We did everything. We did, back then we didn't have QuickBooks. We did all the accounting, and I was just there with my dad. I happened to be there learning on the job, and it's guided pretty much everything I've done. And as you said, I've always had side businesses. I started my first side business in high school. We needed to we needed to buy billboards or create billboards for our motel to advertise our motels. And my dad said, why would we go rent one when we can just go put one up ourselves, put up 4 on the one, and we'll take the one for free and let other people pay for us. And that started my passion. I was like, oh my God, like I can get other people to pay for this stuff. And then I started a t-shirt and embroidery business in college and in dental school. And then I came out, started my practice. Then at some point I got a bug to start sharing my work. I've always been about sharing and being an open book. And then that started the speaking, which started the training, which started, training for others. Then that started like, I can't be out on the road 30 weeks, 30 Fridays a year. And then we opened a small training center upstairs in my practice in the building. And then we built the retreat. And at this point, I'm involved in 4 businesses right now. My dental practice, which takes up about half my time. 3D Dentist, which is our training organization in Raleigh, North Carolina, that takes up the other half of my time. We just started another business where we do technology education, technology training and distribution as an alternative option for dentists looking for technology with implementation training. And then one of my passion projects that I want to build my legacy on is our 501c3 nonprofit called Smile 3D, where we provide, last year we did almost $1 million in free dentistry for our local community in conjunction through our live patient education programs. And our mandate there is world-class dentistry for working class America. And, from my perspective, that I grew up on free lunch. I qualified for all the free programs growing up because we didn't make a lot of money. And now I don't qualify for those, in a way, good. But, if you don't have a lot, there's resources for you. There's different things. And if you have a lot, you are the resource. But, my mom was a teacher. She made $17,000 a year. I'm an immigrant. A teacher making even 40 or 50,000, whatever they make now, you can't afford $5,000 to replace your tooth number 9 or tooth number 8.
Sure.
And dentistry's, and I don't I'm not trying to say we're too expensive, but we're too expensive. Like if I came to your office and I needed a tooth taken out, between the exam, the x-ray, and the extraction, I'm $300-400 in. The average American makes $15 an hour. That's 30 hours I got to work for you to rip my tooth out of my head. And it's no wonder that people don't get care. It's not an access to care, it's an affordability to care. So our goal is to provide world-class dentistry, dental implants, extractions with grafting. At some point, we're going to launch a smile makeover program. We're going to do all of these things for working class people, for people that have jobs, for people that, what I call the heart of America. And so that's kind of our mandate there. So those are kind of the 4 different things I'm involved in.
So it's easy for us to donate our time for that. It's for you to donate your time. You're talking about world-class dentistry. So now you're talking about facilities. You're talking about, materials. You're talking about implants. You're talking about all of this sort of stuff. You and I we got a scanner. We use a scanner. We can donate blocks, whatever. How is that being incorporated? Is it just not a pocket deal?
Well, thank you for asking. So far, it's been me. I'm the funder of everything, but with the caveat. Look, dentistry has been good to me. I can pick up the phone and I can call the CEO of BioHorizons and say, hey, you know what? I need 50 implants for this cause. I can get it to happen because I have influence to help drive. At the end of the day, I have influence to help drive people, right? I can call Candid Pro. I could call Nick, the CEO of Candid Pro. I can say, hey, I want to do 10 aligners cases for teachers across America. I could probably make it happen, right? I could call Sprint Ray for sure and say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. And so really what I've done is I've leveraged some of my luck in life, my time. I've leveraged relationships to create an environment right now where we can provide this dentistry. And the dentistry is honestly is an education program. So like if somebody wants to learn dental implants, we have live patient training. They can come through that and they'll provide the surgery for our wonderful patients. But at some point in time, we'll open up as a 501c3 for material, beyond material donations. But right now, I'm focused on getting it started, getting it the way I want it to be. I don't need a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now. I have my own vision of what I want this to be. And until I can kind of get that a little bit further, I'm grateful for our educational partners that provide material donations.
It's awesome.
I mean, that's a fantastic thing. Kudos to you for doing
that. One last thing on this is, and this is, again, a personal pet peeve on my end, is we're so fast to donate and give to anywhere in the world, even anywhere across America. But every dentist listening to this, our success comes from the 5 to 10 mile radius around my practice. Sure. And we do so little for that 5 to 10 mile radius. And I would encourage everybody to once a year open up your shop and just do extractions and cleanings for those less fortunate, and just give back to your community, and just keep giving back, and because it'll raise our profession, it'll raise our status as a profession within the community, and frankly speaking, people need it.
Yeah. So, you and I are very similar in age, so I hate to say it, but we're the old guys in the profession now.
We are now.
Yeah, Mort is still kind of the young guy, and Rick is the dinosaur. Done. Yeah. So, obviously we see a lot of people coming out, and the generations change. New guys coming out. What's your advice to them? What do you tell them to do? What do you tell them to focus on? To have a career similar to yours, yeah?
Yeah, well, number one, I don't want anybody to have a career similar to mine. It has its price, okay? Everything, it's like certain parts of success come at a cost, okay? And you don't understand that, you don't see that, but at some point in time, it comes at a cost. But, I'm pretty clear on this. Number one thing I wish I did better in my life is I wish I started saving money earlier. I wish I had the discipline to put away $50 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month. The first 10 years of my career, I didn't save anything. I just kept pouring back into my practice and into a little bit of lifestyle, but I didn't really save anything. And those 10 years is a doubling cycle at the end. And I'll never get that back. And so have a plan off the bat to have discipline. And what I suggest to people is start with, $300 a month, $500 a month, and then make a commitment that every quarter you will automate that to $600, $700 the next quarter. The next thing you know, after 5 years, you're at $4,000 or $5,000 a month that you're automatically saving. And if it never hits your bank account, you'll never notice it. And you can invest it in as simple as a S&P index fund, and it will grow historically, it'll grow 5, 6, 7, 8% over time. And you will have a great flexibility option outside of it. Now, when it comes to people clinically, my luck clinically was that I focused a lot on diagnosis and communication early in my career, how to talk to people, how to earn trust. And that's something I continue to work on consistently. I worked on my speed for 6 months to a year. After that, I worked on my advanced procedures. How do I do dentistry that the specialists are doing? At least 50 to 60% of it. I'm not trying to say I can replace specialists. And then after that, I worked on how do I offload my work to somebody else. And that's kind of been my journey, my clinical career journey, was diagnosis, communication, never-ending battle, getting a little bit faster in everything that we do, adding new skills to my skill set, and then how do I offload some of the procedures I don't want to do anymore. And I don't think dentists do that enough. I think dentists, they keep adding skills and they become a flea market. They become a flea market. I can do fillings, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. And at some point, you have to let go of some of those things and transition that to another dentist, another practice, somebody else, so that you can focus your time on those things that you're actually very good at and that are fulfilling to you economically and personally.
So kind of one of the last things I want to ask you about, you look at the study released recently, 36% of practitioners across the nation have dropped at least one network, and many have dropped more than one network. I've heard you before saying you are a network provider. Are you a network provider? Is somebody else in your office a network provider, or are all of you a network provider? So what's the story there, and what do you think?
Yeah. So I don't believe insurance is evil. Okay, I think insurance, like I tell people, what in the world would happen to our profession if dental insurance went away? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see what really happens if commercial dental insurance goes away, or God forbid the government takes over. Okay, both of those would be catastrophic for our industry. So we have to learn to understand to make insurance less dependent in our lives. That doesn't mean we got to get rid of it, just less dependent. Now, how I handle insurance is our practice is in network with, I think that I just looked at the other day, 7 different networks, and one of them is like 5 networks combined into one. Okay, so we're in network with 7 to 10 plans. I personally am in network with one plan only because I'm forced to be in network because I take medical insurance on the sleep apnea side. So that's Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Carolina. So since I'm an in-network medical provider, I'm forced to be an in-network dental provider. But outside of that, I'm not I personally, as the owner, senior doc in the practice, I'm not in network, but my practice is completely in network. And I think that's the best of both worlds. That allows me to control the fees that I want to provide at. It allows me to make it easier for me to transition patients. So if Moose came in, I could say, Moose, you says, oh, I've been your friend forever, I want you to do it. I said, no problem, my crown's $2,000, but you can get it done by my associate for your insurance fee of $675. And then the patient can choose. And so it's kind of a hybrid model in my practice. I firmly believe that dental practices of any size or scale will need to deal with insurance and probably be in network to some degree. But I'm a firm believer at the same time that the senior doc, the one with the true expertise, can transition themselves, the individual, completely out of insurance.
That's interesting, man. I've never heard of that kind of combination in a practice, which is great. I mean,
well, it's working. It's been working for 10 years now. I've been slowly dropping plans after plans after plans individually, but mostly the practice has kept all of those plans.
Yeah, I mean, Moose and I were talking about this the other day because that's one of the things I was wondering about, how you've managed your practice and had it work the way you have. So that's fantastic.
Well, it's just like any kitchen. It looks great on the outside, but it's got all kinds of problems too.
Well, yeah.
I could imagine what the operational aspect is, and the billing and the coordination. And you would think it could be tricky, you know?
Yeah.
But really, it can be. But I want you and people to understand that at the end of the day, I'm a business within my business. I find my own patients to a certain degree. I do direct consumer marketing. I'm referred by my hygienist. I'm referred by the other dentists within the practice. I don't get a lot of referrals from outside the practice, but all of them refer to me. And they refer enough to where truly I probably need to work about 2 clinical days a week to fulfill my economic obligation to the practice and to my life. And it gives me a lot of freedom and flexibility to choose and do what I want. It's been an amazing, amazing profession to me. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it any differently. Maybe it's my luck. Maybe it's my disposition for business, or for small business, I should say. It's just been good to me. And clinically, like I've reinvented myself. God, I don't even know how many times I've reinvented myself in my 25-year career. I was the general dentist doing cosmetics. Then I became the sleep apnea dentist. Then I became the single tooth implant dentist. Then I became the full arch implant dentist. Like, you can just keep reinventing yourself over and over again. And all along the way, I've never given away the patients. I've given them away to within the practice, within the building, to other dentists within them. And it's been a pretty good journey. I don't know how much longer I got, but it's a good journey.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great what you've done. I think being able to reinvent and morph yourself as many times as you have is pretty crazy. Almost like a chameleon. But
it takes a hell of a lot of courage to do that.
Well, yeah.
really,
We can sit here and say, "Oh, good job, good job, good job,"
Yeah.
but then to step up and do it.
Yeah, to put your stuff on the line every time when you're reinventing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to say something a little bit differently to you're right. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment and that I do it. But, I had a big recent life event, and my dad looked at me and he said, "All right, let's get up. We have no choice." And I think dentistry, like, we're in this position where we don't have a choice. Get up off your butts. Let's do something. We don't have a choice. Look, if we don't do something about it, somebody's going to do something for us, and we may or may not like the outcome. And look, for me, it's no big deal, dude. I got 5-7 years left. I'm going to skate this thing out, and it's okay. But for the dentist, for the dentist that's got 10 to 20 years left, like control your destiny, man. Just figure out what you want to be, what you want to do, how you want to do it. If you got a few years left, just ride it out, enjoy it, no big deal. And if you got 30 years left, get ready for change. It's going to look differently 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I predict dentistry will look very different 10 to 15 years from now. Not just clinically, there'll be clinical changes, but operationally, we will look totally different 10 to 15 years from now.
Yeah. First off, I'm really pissed off that you said you have 5 to 7 years left. I think I got 10 to 14. so that's bothering me.
Well, you're in better shape than me. But when I say I got 5 to 7 years left, there's more I want to do. It's not. I'm saying clinically, day-to-day operations of a practice. I probably got 5 to 7 years left.
There's a couple more hotels to be bought. Yes. But we appreciate you being with us today. We always like to end with kind of, what is a tidbit, what's a piece of advice that you would kind of give our audience that, that they can apply to their life tomorrow, or they can go into their office and apply. I know you've touched on savings and things like that. Is there anything you'd kind of like to share with our audience? What can you do tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in case acceptance is trust. And you earn trust with people by being honest and upfront with people, by letting them know exactly what's going on. And to me, if you can earn trust with people, if you can just, I want to take this back. I want to make it as simple. Trust is abstract. Okay. Let me make it even easier. I want everybody listening to make this commitment to us for the next week. I want you to go in and ask every one of your patients, if possible, would you like to get all your dentistry done in a single visit? And see what they say. Just ask them that simple question. If possible, would you like to get all your work done in a single visit? And what you will find out is the answer will be, yeah, but. And then as soon as they tell you what the but is, focus in on answering that barrier, and you will find out. It'll be money, it'll be time, it'll be fear, it'll be trust. Do I really need to do it all at once? And just answer the question honestly. And if you just ask them, would you like to do all your work in a single visit? You'll be shocked at how much more productive you can be, how much less chaotic your practice can be, and what in the world your patients will say yes to in your practice that you never thought they would say yes to because you simply asked them and gave them a choice.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you again for being with us. I think a lot of I like to use this term that we kind of have to dare to be simple, dare to make dentistry simple. And I think you have dared to make changes in your practice. You've dared to change the direction. You dare to provide a high level of care. I think to me, that's what our listeners need to understand. Dare to make the changes and dare to make dentistry simple. So thank you again for being with us. We appreciate it very much. Look forward to having you on with us again and continuing.
Oh, thank you guys.
Appreciate it
Thank
very
you for
much.
listeners.
Thanks, Ben.